One.
Hello and welcome to DFS Coach Talk. I am Joe Sarvati, affectionately known as Coach, and I am joined by my playing partner, Mr. Andrew Hansen. Happy Cinco de Mayo, Andrew. How are you doing today?
Same to you, but 5-5, May 5th here. We don't want fives this weekend with our golfers. We want fours and threes. We want
We
birdies.
do.
We want pars on some of these tougher, longer par threes. And it's not a great course for scoring ultra low. So we got to battle and avoid those fives. And absolutely, the sixes can't have any of those.
No, I think the five number may be five under. I think that would be
Good.
terrific.
That's a
Shoot
good
a
start.
crisp 66 and you'll be all set.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, we have the Wells Fargo Championship at the Quail Hollow Club, and it's a par 71. And listen to this, Andrew, 75-21. So get out the big sticks.
Amateurs need not apply.
No, no, thank you. Playing from the tips like those guys do, no chance. But one nice thing too is the weather looks good for the whole 4 days in Charlotte. So no rain really, maybe a sprinkle one day, but more than likely not. Not any high winds. So it's just going to be, get out the big sticks and see if you can tackle the long course that is pretty tough, but it should be a fun tournament.
Yeah. That the players are probably happy about that weather report, and it is really challenging. The record score here is 17 under from Rory, who has been excellent on this course. And a lot of
Yeah,
these guys have a lot of experience here. The Wells Fargo playing there year after year. The 2017 PGA Championship was there. The
right.
2025 PGA Championship is going to be played there. So
Yeah.
I think that's part of the reason why a lot of the big names are here, because it has these important events there other than just the annual tournament. But yeah, the length is important. Driving is important. We've got the closing green mile. This is a good summary of this course. 506-yard par 4 16th. Then how
It's
about par 3
ridiculous.
17th? That's 223. And then a closing par 4 of 494.
Oh my
So
gosh.
you gotta really do well off the tee here, and you have to be able to handle these longer par fours.
It's going to be a test. I mean, I'm interested to see what the scores are. I mean, that score by Rory is pretty astounding, but there's tough spots on this course. There's water enough that 7 holes have water that comes into play. So you not only have to be long, you have to be pretty accurate too. So it should be a super tournament. You had mentioned some of those holes coming down the stretch, but when you have 8 par 4s over 450 and 2 par 4s over 500, oh my gosh, I'd be in big trouble. That's all I can say.
I mean,
That's
seriously, a lot of the courses that us amateurs play, obviously, some of those holes would be par fives.
yes.
So
Oh, no doubt.
it is a tough test, and that's really the key stat that I dug into this week, Coach. I looked at the rankings for par four scoring between 450 to 500 yards this year on the PGA
Beautiful.
Tour. So let's look at some of the guys in the top 20 who are playing this week. Number
Sure.
one, Coach, is an important name, James Hahn.
Oh
And
boy.
he's our guy. We play him occasionally. He's 6,800 on DraftKings. He's a value play. So let's just jump right to the value play this week, because
Wow.
last week went pretty well with our man Keegan Bradley, mid tier,
Oh,
finishing
he
second.
almost did it.
Almost did it. Almost paid off those 70-1 tickets we were
Oh,
holding. He did pay off the top 20, so it was
yeah.
profitable. Could have been ultra profitable, but we'll tip our caps to you, Keegan. That was very solid.
He was our really the guy we both agreed on, and out of nowhere it was an interesting run there towards the end. That one ball he hit in the water just literally sunk our chances.
Yes.
But until then, man, I thought he was going to win it. I really did, because Burns had never won a tournament, and you figured Keegan had won a major, for crying out loud. He'd be tough down the stretch, but it wasn't to be.
Yeah, I know. I'm right with you there. So let's see about James Hahn this week. Now, he's not, I don't have quite the same feeling about him because his recent performance, he's missed a couple cuts here in individual events. But at that Valspar, he did have a second round 68. So he missed the cut, but he finished strong. And he loves this course. He won in 2016. And when the PGA Championship here was held here in 2017, he finished tied for 13th. So
Interesting.
he feels really comfortable here. Nice value play. I'm gonna put him out there for sure.
Well, if we put a few bucks on Keegan at 70-1, would you believe James Hahn is 180-1?
Yeah, I believe it. I believe it. Again, if you're gonna bet a long shot like that, also bet them to play finish
Yeah,
top 20,
top
so
20,
that they have a
sure.
solid week. You profit and stagger it so that if they make the top 20 but they don't win, you're profitable.
Right.
All right,
I agree.
yeah, let's continue on this list here. Patrick Reed is third
Okay.
in this stat. He handles the long par fours. We know that he is excellent on these tougher courses. I'd rather actually not talk about Patrick Reed because I had him in my lineups last week. He missed the cut by one down the stretch with Phil. They both, blew it, the back nine in the second round. So that made it tough last week. But he's back and ready to go. He also finished high in that PGA Championship in 2017. He finished tied for second. So
Nice.
no surprise that he likes this course. Russell Henley, 7,900, nice value play. He's had a couple top tens recently on the PGA Tour. Sung Jae Im is good at the long par fours. We know that.
Right.
Here's
You
another.
just got to make those putts, and he's good.
There you go. Here's another value play. Justin Suh, and we've played him a couple times over the last year. He's made his last few cuts, only 6,100, but he can handle these holes. So keep an eye on him.
Big value.
The other guys here between 10 and 20 who are playing this week, Emiliano Griot. He's had a couple recent top 10s. He's 8,100 on DraftKings, not too bad. Bryson, back. First tournament since the Masters. He's 11,000. You got to pay up if you want to invest in him. He did finish fourth in this event in 2018. So how does he respond after the layoff? We are going to find out.
Definitely. I'll tell you what's impressive, Andrew. Do you know that this tournament, 10 of the top 15 players in the world are playing, including 4 of the top 5. So it's a stronger field than I had anticipated coming into this week. I think everybody's trying to just sharpen it up before the PGA, I guess, is what the plan is. Plus, it's always good to play a tournament on a course that you know has a major coming up down the road in a couple of years.
Definitely. I agree completely.
Yeah.
Next on the list, Matt Wallace, 7,500.
There's a lot of buzz about him.
Yeah,
for
he's been
some
playing well
reason.
lately.
Yeah.
There's a value option. Another cheap guy here, Scott Piercy, 6,200. He has not been playing well, and he's a guy that I don't like to roster. He's very volatile, but he's one of those guys where if I don't roster him, then he pulls a top 15, and you wish that you had. But his recent form is shaky at best, so I'm probably going to fade him. Justin Thomas is next on this list, and he is going to be an important figure to consider this week. I want to know if you're ready to pay up for him because he is the guy who won the PGA Championship on this course in 2017.
That means a lot for sure. Plus, he's the co-favorite right now based on BetUS.com.pa's odds. He and Rahm are tied at 11-1 for the favoritism. So, he certainly deserves it with that past performance.
Carlos Ortiz, 20th on this list. Surprisingly, he's missed 3 cuts in a row. So you got to play the turnaround game if you want to invest in him. And then I'll mention
super duper cheap either.
Not super duper cheap, but cheap enough because of that performance. At least on DraftKings, 7,400.
Yeah.
And then Webb Simpson, he's 21st. No shock that tough par fours he can handle. So that's the group of guys right around the top 20 on that stat who are going to play this week.
Interesting. Let me give you the real quick top 10 in odds. There's definitely some shifting, so there's some money coming down on this tournament for sure. But as I mentioned, Thomas and Rahm are 11-1 favorites. Then Bryson at 14-1. The guy that's getting play, and he always gets play, it's Mcilroy, and he hasn't won. When's the last time he won? A couple of years ago? It seems like.
It does seem like that.
Yeah, he's actually the next choice at 19-1. He passed Schauffele, who's now down to 20. Hovland, who's really rounding into shape with a third yet last week. He's 22 with Simpson. Tony Finau getting some play. He's moved up several spots to 28-1. The guys that have fallen back to the pack that are all really good, prices at 30-1, you can't beat it. Cantlay, Connors, and Reed. I like all three of those guys right now. And so they're right in the thick of it. And then here's a guy that's taken the biggest jump in the odds. He went from 40-1 to 25-1. So somebody put some serious cash on him. Believe it or not, that's my man Will Zalatoris. So somebody's got the inside skinny on Will this week. So we'll see if that movement in the odds pays off. So, but
Yeah.
a lot of go ahead.
I wanted to ask your feel on Will because I did see a note on him that he last couple of weeks I noticed he wasn't playing. He bought a house down near you and he got engaged. So I feel like he's kind of this is an opportunity for some volatility. He either feels amazing after doing all that and he just crushes it, and he does have a lot of experience in the area going to Wake Forest, which is in North Carolina, or does all that distract him and he finally is more human and he plays poorly. I tend to think more of the former, that he's worth looking at. What are your thoughts?
It's a split decision for me. Everything you brought up there is all valid, and I really don't know. I think he's either going to do really well or really bad because, if you look at those, the distractions the last couple of weeks and not playing in tournament golf, I mean, getting engaged and buying a house, those are all humongous life things going on. So certainly distracted from the game. But like you said, those are some of his old college stomping grounds. He's played that course plenty of times, with going to Wake Forest right there in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Beautiful area, by the way. I love that area. And so, I mean, he's familiar with the weather, the greens, the whole, North Carolina golf scene. So that's a big plus for him. So, it's hard to say. I'm personally not going to go there. I think, he's going to be a nice play for the PGA because, he'll have time, I think, to get a little sharper now that he's come back. And like you said, all that other stuff settled in his life. I think he's a good pick to win some tournaments down the road, but just a little too much volatility for me as a cash player this week.
Yeah. Okay. Were you going to add anything else about the odds?
Yeah, I want to mention a few guys that I was a little stunned at where they were in the what you could get them at. And I know some of these guys aren't playing well, but that's why their odds are so wacky. Tommy Fleetwood, who was the Ryder Cup darling for Europe, and he was winning stuff. He's now 70-1. His stock has just dropped.
Yeah, he's really been poor for his standards lately, and he's a guy that I love his game because he has shown up big in big tournaments, majors, and if you could bet him 70-1 every week for the rest of his career, I would do it in a heartbeat. But we know that that's not going to be an option.
No, but he could just jump up and grab one of these. Who knows? Speaking of other guys that have just fallen into the abyss here, Ricky Fowler's 80-1. Guy was our Olympic representative the last Olympics of the two guys from the U.S. What happened to his game?
He's a guy, I'm glad you mentioned him. I wanted to bring him up because, the big story with him obviously was he going to qualify for the Masters? And he didn't. Right. He missed it. He was grinding, trying to win to get in. Didn't happen. And I'm thinking maybe now that the pressure of that is gone, he can just get back to regular focus day in, day out. And he has great course history here. He won in 2012. In that PGA in 2017, he finished tied for fifth. Yeah, he's underpriced based on his historical performance. So I'm interested in Ricky this week. I may roll him out there.
Interesting. It's hard to believe. I mean, I think there were a few events he was favored or second choice, just a couple of years back, and here he is 80-1, way down the list. Very bizarre. Here's a couple other names I thought you'd get a kick out of too. One of my old-time favorites, Francesco Molinari. I mean, he's You never know when he's going to throw it together. How'd you like to get 125 to 1 on him?
Yeah, exactly. Guys like that who have been a little inconsistent lately, but have the great history in terms
Yeah.
of doing well in majors. Again, that's the type of guy I'd rather bet top 20. But
Yeah.
but yeah, he is the type that if he puts it together, he can handle these tougher courses.
And I had to bring this last one up because I know he's a guy that you were on for a while, and he's the the longest odds before you play the field, and it's your buddy Seamus Power.
All right, he's back.
300
Seamus.
to 1, Andrew.
Love Seamus.
Box cars.
Guy can play lefty or righty, so he's a special guy for me.
There you go. So he's on there, but it's very interesting. I mean, it's definitely a great betting week. I mean, you can pull some guys here and bet them. Again, the long bombs are nice to play in the top 20, but if you really have guys that you like that are 30 to 1 and below, playing them top 3 or top 5 finish is really a nice play sometimes.
Yeah, I do, and this is, I'm just fired up for this to get a good look at all these guys before the PGA.
Yeah.
Wanted to mention a couple other guys in terms of their course history here. Your man Max Homa is the defending champion, quote unquote.
Yes, he is.
After taking last year off with the pandemic, and he played well last week at the Valspar, so he's a decent option. Jason Day won it before him, but he's been struggling lately, so I'm not ready to play him. I think there's other options right around him in the price tags that are more attractive, like Brian Harmon, who won it in 2017. He's right around the same price as Jason Day, and he's had 3 straight top 13s, which
that's impressive.
As a cash player, you got to like that a little bit, right?
Yeah, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, another lefty. So there you go. And then James Hahn, of course, won it in 2016. Rory had his second win here in 2015. Fowler, I mentioned, in 2012. And then Lucas Glover won here 2011. He's been making cuts. He's usually a solid option in an event like this at a price like that. So a couple more guys I'm looking at who play here year in and year out.
And I'll tell you, I've already built some lineups here, and I'm 100% stars and scrubs this week, and so I need some of your value plays to come through. I'm gonna actually play 2 or 3 different lineups. I'm gonna change it up a little bit. Usually I'm a one lineup guy, and I'll mix. When we have the podcast, I'll mix some top picks and some value picks. But I'm gonna approach it differently. I'm gonna play about 3 lineups. And I think what I'm going to do, Andrew, I'm going to give out my 3 guys that I really like in the field. And I'm going to share those 3, get your opinion on them, because then I'm going to filter those 3 lineups in with all 3 of these guys and then put it value below them.
Okay.
And I have some reasons why I like these 3. The number 1 is Bryson. I think Bryson, he needed to decompress for a little bit, get away, and breathe for a little bit, because there was so much pressure on him going into the Masters and all, just a lot of swirling around him. But his length is going to be undeniably advantageous on this course. I mean, let's face it. And so, where it's going to play like a 72 or 73, par 72 or 73, even for pros, it'd be like a 90 for us. But for him, it's probably a true 71 or 70 because of his length. So he'll be on a lot of holes the only guy or one of a few that's going to have a wedge in his hand. The rest of them are still going to have 7, 8 irons, whatever. And so I think that's a big advantage. I like him sort of under the radar. You haven't heard much about him the last few weeks. I think he comes in and is right in contention. The other guy you mentioned already, and I'll tell you why I like him. And that is a guy that I know you're sour on, but Patrick Reed. And here's why. I remember seeing the stats and listening to the coaches in the coaches room talking about in the Ryder Cup when Patrick Reed, they were talking about they wanted him to be the first shot on the long par 4s, because they felt, and the team was loaded with every great player, that he was the best long distance par four player in the entire group. That they wanted to use uh, his drive, and they wanted to get the rotation where he was going to have a big part in those holes. And then looking up the stats, as you had alluded to earlier, he is very strong in that exact thing. So that isn't a trend that has changed over the last couple of years. So, he's, again, if he's in contention, he usually stays in contention, and I think he gets out there and gives it a run. And then my third guy, and I have not been disappointed yet. So knock on wood, he's going to continue to play well. But how can you deny the season Corey Connors is having? I mean, not too many people are talking about him, but do you know he's been in contention like over and over, and he's just been fantastic.
He really has. I can't argue with that. How could anyone?
Yep.
He's been so solid with the ball striking.
He really has.
Terrific. So
do you like the three foundational guys for my team this week?
I like where you're going with that. I like the justification for all of them. The one thing I'll say is Bryson sounds a little bit more like an Andrew play than a coach play.
I know it.
Coming off this layoff, you're not quite sure what to expect from him. He has the volatility where he can, miss the cut or just barely make it or win going away. And so I kind of like it. Obviously, I like plays like that in GPPs. So I support it. But funny that this week I'm leaning a little bit more towards Justin Thomas in that range. And here's why.
Thomas is the safer bet. I agree. But, sometimes you got to roll the dice.
That's funny. We're flipping roles here this week in golf. But nothing wrong with that. But with Justin Thomas, what I do like about him, and I usually pick Bryson over Justin Thomas, it seems.
I know.
But,
and I usually take Thomas over Bryson.
Right.
So.
But JT, he's obviously been playing, so he's more fine-tuned right now. And I heard him talking recently, and he felt ultra confident, and he kind of won me over with, hey, I'm knocking at the door. I'm so close. I love where my game's at. And he struck it well last week. He just didn't putt quite well enough. And so if he's right there banging on the door and he feels like he's ready to break through, then that's why I'm going to lean in that direction this week.
I don't blame you. I mean, I think he could be the highest owned guy. I think it's very possible he's the number one play, but we'll see. I mean, there's a lot of guys with shots here. I just, I can't give up on the fact, though, that Bryson on a course like this, it's so long, it's just going to be such an advantage for him. Sometimes on the shorter courses where all of them are going driver pitching wedge, it's not as much of an edge. But I think on this course, you're going to have the short players. They're going to go driver, 6-iron, 7-iron, and it's a hell of a lot difference in the PGA if you have a wedge compared to a 7,
No, I agree. That's why Bryson really could be a terrific play if he puts it together, because he could really have an edge here.
Yeah, it's, like you say, a bit of a boomer bust for cash, but you know what? I'm ready to reel it in. So hopefully our listeners are taking notes on all of this stuff, and we can come back and pull some of this info. But as usual, Andrew, I'm going to be utilizing a lot of your picks for the value, because with those three guys and that salary, I'm going to have to find some monster value. So hopefully some of the guys you mentioned will come through. And, I think there's some guys still lower priced that really deserve to be a little bit more salary than that. So I feel good about it.
Excellent. Well, let's invite people to join us and find out what those final lineups look like on Fanduel. We can give out full lineups there. Fanduel and Yahoo. So we do that for the full tournament. And then Friday night, we give out the weekend lineups. Draftkings, we have the coach's clipboard, of course, with the core plays highlighted, then a bunch of other guys to consider to fill out your lineup. And that's available for any membership you get with us. Whatever length of time, you get access to all of our sports. So if you're into golf and you want to grab those lineups and maybe try out basketball, baseball, then do it at dfscoachtalk.com. Select your membership there. Then we'll send you an email, get you into our Discord. and we give out those lineups Wednesday evenings. So plenty of time today to jump in, and then you'll get the lineups for all the other sports as well.
Yeah, and if you're into golf, I mean, mostly our golf players that really play DFS listen to the podcast. This is the day to join, because you can join for as little as $10 for a 3-day pass. So you'll get all of our lineups for the full tournament tonight. And then on Friday, you'll still have your pass active. You'll get all of our picks for the weekend only golf, which really some of those pools on weekend only on DraftKings and Fanduel are bigger than the full tournament ones that go in, that the lock is tomorrow morning. So you can catch both of those, and we'd love to have you join us. If you're watching this right now on YouTube, please take a quick second, hit the thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, click the little alert up in the upper corner there so you can hear when all of our pods come out. We don't want you to miss them. We want it to be convenient. We try to get them out early enough that you can really take a listen before you build your lineup. So that is it, my friend. I think we are going to wrap up golf. Any final words of wisdom from Mr. Golfer here?
No, just going to avoid those fives on May 5th here. We're going pars and birdies all weekend. Can't wait.
And I'm shooting 66. My guys are -5. That's the wild number.
Yeah, that's the only week. 5 we'll take is 5 under.
And I will take it right now. Mark it down. So that would be great. All right, fantastic. We appreciate it. Golf's really heating up. We've got some big tourneys coming. Good build up to the PGA. So, you can always catch us here every Wednesday. We're posting the podcast, and then jump in our Discord with us and get a lot of good chatter from our community. And then we'll post those lineups this evening. So we appreciate you tuning in, and we certainly look forward to it again next week when we look to crush it in DFS.